For the I've got clients that I put a system in and I send them the install instructions and that I sent you the PDF, and I never talk to them again. Because this stuff is so user-friendly that most people don't need a lot of training. I'll tell people, load it. If you need help with the install, let me know. After that, play around with it. And there you can see my house real quick. So when you log in, and this automatically logged me into my system at home, so not really a fair. So what you'll see is, now, again, I'm already logged in. So when you first load it, if you're here on the network, it's going to pop up the Meadowview system. But what I don't, it won't work for you anyway. What I want anybody to do is try to log in directly via the server. You actually log in, there'll be a little, this little circle, infinity circle type thing, and you actually log in up there, and that allows it to work. If you're putting it on a laptop or a cell phone, no matter where you are, you can log into that system. You can view the cameras. You don't have to, and both systems work this way. Both the access control and the cameras are accessible from anywhere, as long as you have internet. You don't have to be on site to manage either one of these. Unfortunately, I need to go to the server and find out why it's not showing up. Oh, so what I was gonna say, and it really showed its true colors.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will take several seconds for the system to show available. So you're gonna log in, it's gonna pop up, it's gonna say system unavailable, especially on a phone. Try to be patient. Once you get logged in, it works a lot smoother, but initially it may take a minute, up to a minute to actually populate, like this one just did. It took a little while to show up.
Okay.
Once you get in, once you're logged in, like I said, it's super user friendly. I need to tweak that.
I don't know how that stays up. Is the bottom one the thing?
No,
It won't do it up.
it's gonna time out. Even I mean,
Constantly.
normally it'd be longer than that, but it just kicked on. It's on occupancy mode, so it'll kick off, and then whatever the timeout is, it goes back into occupancy, and it picks me up. If we all sit very, very still, it'll stay off, basically. You can change it to vacancy mode, which then requires you to or manually turn it on, and then
You can do that from the switch?
I'm gonna say most likely. That'd be a question for Adam, because I don't know specifically the product, but
Adam
most
tried
of them
to,
are
yeah.
selectable.
We just didn't go over that in the electrical training, and so we don't know.
I'm
Here,
freezing,
let
I
me-
can't sit that still.
Let me see.
My hands are
Make a
still
note
wet
of
on the
it, for him to
bottoms.
Let us know how
I
to
can-
do that.
Where's it at? Thought. I was hoping I could change it. Maybe not. I was hoping I could change it from the dark version to the lighter version, but I'm not entirely sure how. It follows my Windows settings, and I always use the darker background. Not seeing it. Nope. So I gotta get rid of the second channel here, built in. So these fisheye cameras have multiple output functions, where I can do
Woohoo.
a quad view, or eventually it'll load with the native view, which is a fisheye, it's a single dewarped, or warped I should say, circular image, and then this is the same image dewarped into 4 images.
Has that been set up the whole time?
For a
Like
couple-
if
for a
something
while.
had happened, let's say someone had stolen something, we would have been able to go back and,
For a little while. It's been recording now for probably 2, maybe, we had a little issue getting it recording. We had the cameras up for a while, but we've only been recording for about 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, The last couple of weeks,
And-
they've been running.
How long will it record? Let's say we wanted to go back in time and look up something for something. How long can go back?
Wow.
That is not accurate.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's pretty amazing.
So that's the forecast based on current usage.
Oh.
There's nobody here. So there's been very little movement.
Yeah.
And once the building's full, you're gonna see that drop substantially, but our goal is a minimum 30 days of retention. And I fully expect to get at least that. I mean, we're getting a year right now with very little motion. That's gonna drop substantially when there are people walking around, especially all hours of the day. But I keep an eye on this, especially, once you get fully occupied, I'll log in, I'll keep logging in about once a month. I'll check the retention, and I can adjust some settings to ensure we get at least a month. I'm expecting with the size of server we put in here that you're gonna probably see closer to 2 months of retention. My goal is to always ensure you have 30 days. As far as the cameras go, you can just keep clicking cameras and keep pulling them in. You can load. How many you can load on a single screen is dependent on your computer. Because what you'll see is if you start overloading your computer, it's going to drag. You're going to see a lot of lag, more of this where it takes longer to load, that kind of thing. And your network connection is also part of that. So, how solid the wireless is or your internet at home or whatever the case is going to vary. For most applications, up to 4 is pretty standard, unless you have a pretty robust computer and a pretty robust internet connection. Anything more than 4, you're going to see a lot of lag. And this is, I'm going to say, the reaction time on this is a lot slower than I would expect, which I'm going to blame wholly on your Wi-Fi.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Because, I mean, I've been playing with the system for the last month at my office, and it's instantaneous. So, but if you've got a hardwired network, or, I don't know if I'm on the right Wi-Fi or that kind of thing, if you're seeing this 100% of the time, let me know, and we'll look into it, but, I've been, like I said, I've been working on it at my office, and I have not experienced this delay.
We're waiting for IT to come back next week, so.
I'm not
They'll resolve that.
a Cassia user, so the fact I might be on the right Wi-Fi, but if I'm not a whitelisted user, they may be, throttling my bandwidth to conserve it for real employees.
I mean, even
So-
the users have been having issues too, so.
Well, I'm just trying to help them out here. I'm just trying to be nice. But it's a lot harder to demonstrate when it's super
Right.
slow like this. But the idea is, you can just click on these. You can bring up as many images as you want within, reason. You can resize them.
There we go.
So you can
Nice.
resize individual images. If you've got a bunch up and you're like, oh, who's that white guy? Double click on it, it goes full screen. Double click, it goes back.
Oh, nice.
When you have a layout you like let's say you really want to keep an eye on the lobby or the entry points or whatever, you have a selection of cameras you want to be, you don't want to every time you open it have to pick them out and lay them out again. Right click on the background and you can say save current layout as. I must have just did save current layout instead of as, but then down below the camera list you'll see any saved layouts. It'll pop up and you can rename from here. You just click on it twice and you can rename. And that, you guys are all administrators. So if you don't like the name on this camera, change it. I don't lock you out of that function because I have a construction drawing. I'm guessing at what the best name for this stuff is. You guys work here, you live here. If you want to rename something, by all means, do it. Use what works for you, what makes it easier to find. And actually, I think Nick named all these, so some of them might not be the same descriptions I would use. They will list in alphabetical order, so if you want to rename them to get a better organizational scheme, by all means, rename them. As far as pulling retained footage, you'll notice that oh, I guess before you get too far. All of these bars, these sidebars, so your camera list, your device list over here, you've got notifications over here, even I can't see that now, the taskbar, if you will, up top. All these bars go away and come back. So if you just want to put a couple cameras up on a second monitor in your office, you can get rid of all those tabs, you put them on a TV, and it's going to be seamless. And then you can just bring them right back. But you notice this timeline. So once I'm on a single camera, it's going to show, and it'll be easier, full screen. It's going to show this green bar, and the green means there's recorded video there. Now, there's next to no, I'm going to need to pick a different camera. That was a poor choice. Let me get, this one should have some, okay. Okay. Making me look foolish.
Some movement on it.
There should be a red tab. Just do one.
That's mimicking.
So you can zoom in. You can zoom in and out of this bar. Maybe I'll zoom out. Okay. Well, it looks like I have some more work to do. Normally, there's obviously been motion through this hallway in the last, couple days, so I'll have to play around with that. But normally what you'll see is you'll see red streaks. Oh. There we go. It helps if you click the Smart Search first. So the green bar is going to reflect recorded. Right now, every camera on this facility is set up for constant recording, but it's motion based. So again, this is something I will adjust once I see what the full retention looks like, because I don't want to burn up all your hard drive space where you're running them all the time, but I also don't want you to miss something. So by default, I set them all to motion and low res. So what that does is when there's no motion, it's gonna record in low resolution. And this is in fact a low resolution image. It still looks pretty good. It's not gonna be spectacular. It drops the resolution, it saves space. When it picks up motion, it's gonna, man, that's sluggish. It's gonna move up to the full resolution, and you'll get the little red bar. And so I click that little Smart Search up here, and that's me. And that Smart Search then gives you the motion events within the timeline. Like I said, you can.
Smart Search is where we'll see the people.
Yep, and you can zoom in and out of this timeline bar really efficiently. You can then play back from here. So there's some motion, and it's going to give you these little boxes. Now the really, really awesome thing about Smart Search is that, we've got all these red lines. So let's say I want to see who went through this door. Draw a box. Now the red bar is only motion for that specific square I just drew.
Whoa. That's nifty.
So when you need to find something, you can do so in minutes instead of hours of looking through recorded video. Now let's say that this guy, clogged the toilet and you want to know, you want to make him pay for the plumber. You can come along the timeline bar and you right click and you mark selection start. You can either play ahead, you can drag the bar, whatever the case is, and it's going to give you a highlighted bar, or you can again right click and
then what, you can print that out too then?
Export video.
Save the video.
okay. So mark selection start, and then I drug it, so I actually messed it up, but then you can right click again and mark selection end, or you can drag the bar. As soon as you get this little blue highlight on the bar, you right click on that and you can export video. I'm going to cancel that first because there's also bookmarks. You can add bookmarks, and bookmarks are going to conserve that video. It's not going to overwrite it, and it's going to keep it locally on the server. And then you'll have where we saw the layouts. There's going to be bookmarks there, and so you can reference bookmarks. I would absolutely suggest naming them with the event, date, and time, stuff like that. But you can have bookmarks. Anybody can access those bookmarks. It will not record over that video, but you're not necessarily pulling it out of the system. So if something happens and you're like, we might need that later, you can just bookmark it. I've never been comfortable with that. If it's video I think I'm gonna need, I'm gonna get it off the system right now and make sure I have it. So obviously with most events, you're gonna pull it right away. So when you go to the export video, essentially you can just hit export and it will pull it, but I will go over these options. So if you've had 4 cameras up, you can actually do all of them as one export. That's fine if it's a small clip. If it's 5 minutes or less and you've got 4 or 5 cameras, you're watching somebody walk through the hallway and you're tracking them, then that's okay. If you're pulling a 4-hour clip, do not do multi-image. It will be such a large file you won't be able to send it. It'll take hours to download. I mean, it's a nightmare. So these files get really big really fast. So small clips you can do multi-video. Large duration clips, do them individually. Just do multiple exports in one of each camera. Where it saves it, you can pick. You can move it to wherever you want on your computer. This is on your device. When you export, it's automatically to your device. This isn't on the server, this is to whatever you're using. So you can pick that spot. As soon as you install the Wave software, it will create this folder, this in your users, videos, WiseNet Wave Media folder. It will create that for you. But you can put them wherever you want. Put them in your downloads, your desktop, wherever. A thumb drive directly if you want. I usually don't do that. I export it to my computer and then move it to a thumb drive. I hate to add that extra level of complexity to the download. You can rename it. It's going to give you the camera name and the date and timestamp from the start of the video as the default name. You can rename it whatever you want. This stuff up here, very, very, very few people would ever need this. You can add a timestamp to the overlay to the video. It will show up on the video. You can add a picture. I don't know what that would be, but you could. I guess if you wanted to put the logo in the corner or something, or yeah, their badge picture or something to confirm it's them. I've never needed that, but you can add text like, this is when Joe clogged the toilet, and put it right on the video clip, on the overlay.
We had to do that once for theft. I remember at a community, and
Yep.
we had to go back and see who did what, and sure enough.
So there's a couple
Sensitive.
things in there. I don't typically use that stuff. You're just pulling the video and sending it to who you need, but those are available. This is probably the most important part. The format it's going to export as. The Matroska is a relatively generic video format like AVI, MPEG, or MP4. Those are all files that most people are going to be able to view. They're not admissible in court. They're not the native video format. So if this is something you're pulling just to share for educational purposes, or you know, something funny happened, okay, that's fine. Use those formats. The MKV seems to be the most universal to share. Phones can usually load it, that kind of thing. The Hanwha media file is the native format, but will only work for people who have the Wave player or the Wave software installed. The best option is this executable. What it's going to do is download the clip and embed it with the player. So if you needed to export something to send to an insurance agent, a police officer, detective, that executable is the best option because it's going to be the native format, it's submissible in court, and it includes the player right in it. So all they have to do is click it and it'll open and play back, and it's the most solid option. You don't have to worry about it. That's not one that you can send to somebody on their phone and load because they've got to be able to install a player. They have to be on a PC. But that's the safest bet for exporting video for something you need for legal reasons. And so that can toggle on and off, that function. The rest of these are, there's image enhancement, but I've never noticed it even do anything, so I'm not sure why that's there. The zoom window, which again is entirely necessary, but you can actually create a second image from the first image, from the base image. So you can, not something I would use normally because you can just zoom in right on the live image or the recorded image. It's digital zoom, it's not gonna be crystal clear. As you can see, it gets a little fuzzy when you get that far zoomed in, but you can zoom on those live or recorded images right from your computer, to kind of zoom, see what's going on. Like, hey, that's the spa. I assume that's what this is. It gets a little blurry, but yeah, you've still got the option to put in a window, a second window from a zoomed, and that actually does come in handy on the fisheyes, because you got that big round image covering a ton of space, and so you can build a spot for just the reception desk or just a specific area. You can build a window for that. And then you can take a screenshot of that image. Instead of exporting the full video clip, you can just take a screenshot, and that will save, just like the exported
Are
video.
there cameras at the memory care doors going outside in case we needed to, let's say a resident elopes and they go out and we want to check the cameras to see when
Outside?
did they go,
No, there
Okay.
are,
showing the doors that go outside, hallways.
actually, no, I lied. I forgot, we did do a couple out there.
Nice.
We did very few exteriors. I was thinking we only did the patio, but then I remember that we did end up doing the, essentially the common space exterior, the main entry, and then out the back of, I believe, memory care, the dining, so it kind of covers anybody that might wander out of memory care potentially.
I assume down the road, if we determine maybe we need some more, there's probably capacity to do that. or-
Absolutely.
Okay, good, yeah.
Absolutely. The server itself can handle 128 cameras technically.
Yeah.
We would potentially have to add hard drive space if we started adding too many. But the server can, at capacity, handle, I believe it's 128 cameras.
Yeah.
So. And we can also add, we can add a second recorder and combine the two systems into one interface. So absolutely, fully expandable.
I guess if we ever have to do that, the option's there, so.
Yeah, we did, I forgot that, I apologize because it's been a solid year since I actually was fully invested in what cameras we were putting where.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here for the install, so I couldn't remember
Not
exactly.
like you've had anything in between, right?
Exactly. Luckily, I've got a couple, enough good technicians that I wasn't directly involved with a lot of the install. They just handled it. So.
Even with low res, it's still got a good image.
Just FYI, KCCI is not doing their video just so don't forget to tell you.
They're not, you
It's
said?
rescheduled.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
You can.
or tomorrow,
There-
tomorrow.
There's a calendar. Oh, you can see.
That's
exactly.
what I thought, but I wasn't gonna call you on it.
Yeah, it looks like, you can see we had it recording a little bit on the 18th and a little bit on the 20th, and then we shut it down and back up on the 1st. We were having some issues with recording and stuff like that initially, but we got that all straightened out, and it's been going solid since the 1st of February. So you can kind of get to that, navigate the timeline with this little calendar down here. The thumbnails feature, I dislike it a lot. But the idea is that as you scroll along the timeline, you can see thumbnail images of the video. The idea being, like, if you were looking for a car in the parking lot, when it appeared, when it disappeared, the thumbnails kind of help you get there. But as you can see, this old recorded is in low res, and to me it's just easier just to kind of click along here and watch it. It's trying to update all 6, but with one at a time, that's a lot simpler. And I don't like the thumbnails, but that is an option. It gives you that ability to kind of see what's happening along that timeline. If you want to see what time it snowed and it goes from brown to white, it'd be easy to spot, but it's just too small to be terribly useful. Honestly, there's a lot of other stuff. The local settings adjust what your computer, what your application is doing as far as, there's really not much anybody ever needs to do here. I'm trying to find a single thing that I've ever changed, and I haven't. The notification stuff, I don't set a lot of that stuff up. I do for myself. So if the server goes down, I'm going to get a notification. if there's a hard drive failure, a major issue, it's gonna notify me directly. And I'm gonna reach out and, say, hey, do you have a power outage, or, let me come look at it, or what, something like that. But the reason I don't usually turn on the notifications is if you have a camera that, and this will happen, it'll show up on the right, it'll show a little yellow exclamation point next to the camera, it'll pop up over here, and it'll say it unexpectedly lost the video stream. Which essentially means that for 1/10 of a second, it didn't communicate with the camera. Who cares? It's fine. I mean, unless it's doing it consistently. And I have alerts set up so that if we see so many of those events in a day, it notifies me. But beyond that, you don't need to see that every time something minor happens. So I traditionally don't bother you with that. My expectation is that you're using the system. Somebody is logged in and looking at this often enough that if there's cameras down, you're going to know and you're going to call me. So I typically don't bother you with little nuisance notifications from the system.
And it's connected with our generator emergency so that it would not go off?
That I don't know. I believe that the IT room was fed by generator circuits, but I am not the right person to ask for sure on that.
We just talked to the people that we should. We didn't think of that question at that time.
I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to say
Okay.
yes. I
We'll check on
believe,
that.
I
I'll look at it.
believe we did
Yeah.
get generator circuits up there for anything in the data racks. The fire, so in that room above us, anything on the wall, on the hallway wall, is essentially fire alarm related. It all has its own battery backup. I don't worry about putting that on a generator. There's no reason to have that extra load on the generator because it all has its own battery backup system, as well as the card access system. So those two systems, I don't traditionally worry about putting them on the generator load because they're already battery backed up. I believe we did get generator circuits up there for the network equipment though, which would include the NVR and all your switches and internet service and all that. Because that stuff's a lot harder to keep on a substantial battery. You can put a big UPS in, it might last an hour. Our batteries are all sized to last a minimum of 24 hours for access control and card access and fire alarm are designed to last a minimum of 24 hours. So, which is vital in a facility with mag locks as door security, because without power, they're not locked. So one of the things that I know is a necessary evil with the type of activity on those doors. I tried to talk them out of a couple of them, but some of them it's the only way. And so that's the way they're done, and so it's power dependent. If you have a long-term outage, then we've got to figure out a way to get those powered back up. But at that point, because the generator for this isn't sized. It's obviously not sized to run the whole building anyway. It's emergency backup. So if we run into a situation where you have a long-term outage, we got to get secondary generator in here to backfeed the stuff that's not generator, that kind of thing. So I mean that's in my career it happened only a couple of times.
How long does our generator go before, if it ran constantly?
The natural gas?
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
assume it's natural
natural
Is
gas.
it like a 3-day or?
As long as natural gas
Yep.
exists.
Yes.
As long as
It's
Mid-Am is
full.
pumping gas into the line, she'll
Yes.
keep running.
So I was glad it's natural instead of diesel, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes.
Yay.
Absolutely. So, as I kind of alluded to with the camera system, I'm going to tell you, play around with it. I showed you the basics, how to export video, how to do the smart search. Beyond that, play around with it. Let me know if you have questions. I mean, I can bore you to tears with a million details on how to work it, and until you get in and start using it,
Yeah.
it's, you'll figure it out. It is real. Oh, there's one other really important thing. There's this little question mark up here. As most applications have a help file. You click it, nothing happens. Except that your cursor now has an arrow with a little question mark. Okay? So now I get out here and I click on thumbnail. It takes you to exactly the spot in the manual that references the thing you just clicked on. It is the best help file ever made.
That sounds handy.
So
Yeah.
that's the other reason nobody ever calls me. Because it will tell you exactly what you need to know So that is an amazing feature with this application. The user management, that's another one where, like I said, I've added all those users. They have to register for the sync service, and we'll go over that with you two specifically. You have your computers in here, I'll make sure you have access to both applications, and that way you can show everybody else. But you can add, you're full admins. Everybody I added is a full admin user, so you can add additional users, you can delete users if they're gone. So, yeah. And then the local files is where those bookmarks will show up. Looks like maybe Nick was playing around a little and built a few already, so. Yeah, play around with that one. Let me know if you have questions. You guys have a
Carlos
ton of
last
stuff
name to Ellerslie
that are more
to
important than the
Ellerslie.
Okay,
cameras
yeah,
right now
well-
to get ready, and so I don't want to overwhelm you with too much info. And if you need me to come back 2 months down the road and let's do a refresher on the cameras or the access, I'm absolutely happy to do so.
Josh should be the only one who received those emails.
Oh,
so-
yeah, I'll do that
For
one.
the Ellerson to Ellerman.
Ellerson to
Well,
Ellerman.
you're going to change that here in a minute.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Is there anything else really for the sake of,
No, I think.
I
we're
can't
good.
feel my legs, I'm
I think-
sorry. I have to
The
stand.
rest of it's